Hello, everybody, and thank you to be here. And thank you all our guests to attend this panel discussion. So that we can start, if you want, Doug.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and thank you very much for joining us here at this panel discussion, which is how a low-carbon future is delivered via operational excellence, minimising the total cost of ownership. Before we start, I'd like to introduce my guests on the panel here today. We've got Afaf Fatan at the end, who's BOCCARD's global market nuclear analyst. We've got Tariq Choho, who's the president of Westinghouse, MENEA. We've got Bruno BOCCARD to my left, and I have to apologise for this, but Mr. BOCCARD called off earlier on today. He was feeling very unwell. But Philippe Delmida, who is the nuclear new build lead and business developer for our activities in France, has decided to jump in at the last minute. So thank you very much, Philippe. Stéphane Savignon, who's the Vice President of Industrial Quality for EDF. And last but not least, at the end, we've got Sylvester Pive, who's the Director of Finance, Compliance and Performance for the Energy Division within CEA. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon.
Thank you, Doug.
So, by way of introduction, as I say, the topic that we're discussing today is how a low-carbon future is delivered via operational excellence, minimising the total cost of ownership. The immediate challenges we face in achieving a net zero carbon emission target have to be the priority in everything that we do in our nuclear business. The nuclear energy sector will be one of the prime business areas to achieve this goal by steadily replacing conventional energy generation with nuclear and renewable energy sources. In addition, the efficiencies in which we deliver our daily business challenges, whether CapEx or OpEx, are at the core of operational excellence, minimising the total cost of ownership and driving low-carbon success. Our actions in these areas will maintain and attract the engineers of the future, and it's our responsibility to demonstrate the marked changes in how we approach our business portfolios today and for the future. So I'll start off with my first question, which was directed to Stuart Crooks. Pardon me, Stuart Crooks should have been one of our panel guests today, the Managing Director for EDF at the Hinkley Point site. But because of the recent COVID changes, he wasn't permitted to travel. But fortunately, he's recorded his answers by way of video clip, and we'll be able to play that back. So the first question was, we were really pleased to hear that over 99% of the rebar steel used on the Hinkley Point C project is recycled, which is fantastic. From Stuart's perspective, what we wanted to know were what the key enablers were on the project that reduced the total cost of ownership and drive the low carbon challenge today. So if we could play the first video, please.
Thanks, Doug. And of course, when we look at the low carbon challenge over the life cycle of a nuclear power plant, what drives it more than anything is quality and the operational reliability of the plant. So at the moment, our main focus is on the quality of construction in everything we do. We manage our right first time indicators to make sure the quality of the work that's done on site is matched by the quality of the work that's done in the factories. So our main focus at the moment to make sure we build on nuclear safety for tomorrow is to focus on quality of manufacture, quality of construction, and then of course providing all the necessary surveillance records that we need to demonstrate the plant is built as it was designed to be built. So that's driver number one. Driver number two is really around education and people. So the more people can understand the impact they have on the environment, the more they understand the impact they have on production of carbon. And we spend a lot of time all the way through from schools education programs through to project induction programs to make sure that people really understand their personal impact on the project and their personal impact on the environment. So I would say the second key plank and the second key enabler is really around education. And the third key area is about making sure that we monitor and deliver on our promises. You know, we have very, very strong targets, very strong measures to make sure that we do actually meet our promises and build more than just a power station. This is a huge commitment to society, it's a huge commitment to the local environment, and a huge commitment to the local community. Meeting our commitments on everything we do, from the food cycle, the way we feed our people, the logistics, the transport, the way we go about our business. Every single day we have an impact on the environment, and our job is to minimise that. Monitoring and education are key planks to support quality in manufacturing and construction. So the key message I want to leave you with is quality in the factory, quality in manufacturing, quality on construction, but remembering the whole life cycle impact that you and your colleagues, at whatever tier of the supply chain you are, really consider your impact day to day on how you produce your products and how you manage that impact on the environment.
That was great. So, from what we just heard from Stuart, are there any similarities within the CEA operational area in the project portfolio that we can share with us, considering the high level of innovation required and in your field of expertise? So, absolutely. So, Esther, if you could, please.
Thank you. Well, definitely, there are some similarities and also some differences. So among our portfolio, I'm going to talk about the GHR project, Jules Horowitz project, and also about decommissioning and dismantling project. Differences, because GHR is a unique reactor. We just make one, so that on one hand for GHR, and also because regarding decommissioning, dismantling, we have a very large set of decommissioned facilities, and which are much different one from another. So we don't have any series. Everything is unique. So maybe let me say a few words about the GHR project, in which BOCCARD is much involved as a partner. So material test reactors in Europe are aging, and if you imagine in the coming decades, there will be just one MTR in Europe, which will be the Jules Horowitz reactor, supporting innovation for the nuclear industry. So it will offer a fantastic range of experiments. So right now, the GHR project is also an opportunity for the nuclear industry to demonstrate its skills and its capabilities. And I think we have to make it a great success altogether by keeping schedule and estimated costs under control and by aligning our objectives. It's a high stake not only for the CEA, of course, it is, but I think also for the whole French nuclear industry, and also for the consortium members abroad, including the UK. And so regarding cost of ownership, we already work on the business case, both to provide high quality services to our customers in the future, and also to properly cover the future operational cost. Now just a few words about decommissioning and dismantling project. It's also of high importance for low carbon energy. It's not obvious, but we have to demonstrate that we manage the legacy waste and the old facilities in a responsible way. And regarding decommissioning and dismantling, one of the main objectives is to recharacterize and recondition legacy waste. And this implies also to build interim storage facilities and to implement new equipment to process the radioactive material. So that makes a large project portfolio that also requires schedule and cost control. So we also need to have all the nuclear industry on board to tackle such a task.
Many thanks for that response.
Okay. Okay, so EDF is producing low-carbon electricity today through renewables and nuclear developments. So, Stéphane, the Excel plan has been launched in 2020. How is it contributing to the EDF low-carbon production mix?
So EDF purpose or raison d'être is to build a net zero energy future with electricity and innovative solutions and services to help save the planet and drive well-being and economic development. So with the energy transition and electrification of uses, we have the chance to be an industry that will grow. And it's a question of production much more electricity tomorrow in 2050 than we do today. So naturally, EDF is a major player in energy transition, particularly through the development of nuclear power. Nuclear power definitely is a blessing for the planet and an asset for France because it's a low carbon production electricity, controllable energy, and also it's competitive and sovereign. So we need to accelerate our development of renewables, but also accelerate the development of nuclear power. The nuclear power plants will have to be beyond life extension for the ones that are built today, but we also have to build new ones. So in the COP26, there is definitely a recognition that the nuclear energy is part of the solution to climate change. So we all are delighted with that today. EDF has learned a lot in the construction of plants, and we still remain the world leader in operation and maintenance. The challenge today is to restore the confidence in our ability to do things, quality, cost, and lead time. So this challenge is the one of Excel plan, and it has been developed with the whole supply chain of EDF. So we're looking to develop the supply chain and EDF to come back to the highest standards of diligence, quality, and excellence that are required for the successful of the and the completion of the nuclear projects. So the plan today is to ensure that we meet the requirements of for the major current and future project in France, in the UK, and elsewhere in the world. So this plan will also benefit the existing nuclear fleet programs, in particular in France, Grand Carénage. So this plan is the one of the entire industry, as I said. It was designed with the GIFEN, the French Nuclear Industry Group or lobby, and it is structured around 5 axes. The first one is the goal, to manufacture right the first time, as what's his name? Stuart was saying, sorry, thank you. Then the foundations. Foundation is governance and standardization of projects to make them as secure as possible. And 2 levers, the first one which is skills or competencies, and supplier relationship, because definitely we build project all together and we succeed all together. So the whole industry today is waiting for concrete, I would say, orders, following the announcement that have been made a few days ago in UK and in France. We must say that 6 EPR, representing 10,000 jobs per year during the construction phase, and 6,000 jobs per year into the exploitation. So it's really an important job supplier. And the workload visibility is really a unique opportunity that we've got today to invest in automatization, robotization, digitalization, but also in new competencies and new way of working that are more collaborative and more efficient ways. So this is why with France Relance, EDF has created an investment fund, and that is contributing equally between the state and EDF, and representing 100 million euro for the first lot.
That's fantastic. Many thanks, Stefan. So, Tariq, from Westinghouse's international perspective, specifically Europe, the Middle East, and the African territories, are the initiatives your organisation is driving being unilaterally accepted, or do you face challenges in the various geographical regions?
Thank you, Doug. Well, we heard from our customers, the utilities, Stuart and Stefan, what their priorities are. And Westinghouse is a world leader in designing nuclear reactors and providing services throughout the life of the reactors operations, and we are obviously completely aligned with the priorities of our customers. So so we don't see any challenges. It's healthy challenges from our customers to say, hey, we need to be more efficient. So starting from construction, as you know, nuclear is heavy in CapEx. And we always accepted that, having CapEx, and then we have lower OpEx. But in fact, we need to work on both. So we need to do it first time when we build new plants. So that's one of our focus that was already mentioned. But during operation, our job is to make sure we help our customers maintain the plant operating as long as possible. Once you build a reactor, you want to operate it as long as possible. You want to operate it as efficiently as possible. So there was a time where in the nuclear, money was not an object. That's over. We went after 10 years, quite difficult. And also there's a big competitive pressure from renewables, from other energies. So we need to work on every step of the way. So efficiency, providing the most efficient fuel to use the enriched uranium as much as possible, looking at every little thing that could help reduce the duration of outages, etc. So sometimes we offer solutions to our customers and they're ready to accept them. Sometimes they push us. One thing that's important for us is also not to try to reinvent everything. So nuclear, we're proud of doing important things, low carbon energy, difficult things, but there are other industries, other sectors that are ahead of us in digital, for example. So we need to work with startup companies. We need to be humble enough to create those networks so that we provide quickly to our customers solutions that combine our knowledge of the nuclear, of the reactors, and what they have to bring in terms of digital and other type of innovation. So that's our focus, and it's true for the leader of operations, which is EDF, but it's also every customer for us is important. In Europe, we work a lot with the VVR countries. They are in need of energy supply, energy security. They want to diversify from their historic provider, and they have the same focus: efficiency, cost effectiveness, safety first, quality, but all of those are contributors to the same goals.
Excellent. Thanks for that, Tariq. So now that we've heard from key operators and developers, what I wanted to do was to turn the questioning to BOCCARD. So as a major EPC partner to the nuclear industry, Philippe, how do we adapt and align to the various delivery models within the nuclear arena?
Okay, Doug, thank you. In fact, we have tremendous benefits in being a private, family-owned company. Firstly, we are independent, and thus we have our tailored long-term vision closely aligned to the market needs. We have a very agile management that can make expedient decisions that makes difference in very competitive markets. And since we are using our own resources, we are very cautious in the way we invest. Delane says we create and improve with our customer are based to obtain the best performance in safety, on-time delivery with respect of the specifications and the budget. And as we have just heard, all the main customers here are saying the same topic, and we are aligned with that. Because, in fact, we can resume something as ourselves, an EPC company, is that time is carbon. And then if we do the first thing, good one, we don't lose time. And if our processes are the best optimized one, we don't lose time and we contribute not to create carbon. So this is another way to think about that. And whatever the projects are, the EPC workflow process must be respected and controlled. And for this purpose, one key proprietary tool is BOCCARD, a seamless project management tool for engineering, procurement, manufacturing, and construction that gives visibility over all project tasks that need to be done and can control planning and procurement much better. It is a tool that has been created 15 years ago, and we use that on the Flamanville construction, on the CEA projects, and for example, you mentioned the JHR fluid lot that we carry on since 2015, and we have applied actually the system, and it brings some results. As a customer can see at each time what we are doing and where we are. And everything's linked to the documents that prove that we are executing as expecting. Well, and other, just to think about what and how optimize those KPI, we have developed, thanks to the partnership with CEA on the JHR, technologies to allow us to do that. For example, the welding machine that creates that don't create non-conformance, and we economize energy and don't create carbon.
No, Philippe, fantastic, fantastic answer. I'm not going to let you off as easily as that, though. BOCCARD are involved in 8 different market sectors. Obviously, we're discussing nuclear today and our alignment within this specific area. But from the other 7 market sectors, in addition to nuclear, are there any advantages and tools that are being developed there or being used that can be applied to this low-carbon challenge?
Yes, Doug. Actually, that is our value. We are a family company, of course, and even if we got 4,000 employees in the world, we are very close to each other. So that we have developed quite a lot of new technologies in other markets, and these are applicable to nuclear markets. That's very interesting. For example, what I mentioned, the welding tools, the HoloLens vision for the 3D models, and other things. The company has interest in no fewer than 8 main markets, with nuclear being the largest, accounting close to 20% of its business. So it's quite measured. And we can see that from the other parts, all the creative and innovation is applied for each market. And our other differentiator is the ability to prefabricate piping systems. We can prefabricate up to 85% of the welding, reducing tremendously the amount of time spent on site, and increasing safety, quality, and productivity with all the new technologies that have been developed in our 8 markets.
No, fantastic, Philippe. And I think you've got all these tools demonstrated on our stand at WNE. So
Yes.
if anybody wants to learn more about that, you're more than welcome to join us. So Afaf.
Okay, so the following question will be to Sylvester and Stéphane. As it was mentioned earlier, the Excel plan is the prime business driver in France. So what are the best examples of the operational excellence toward the low carbon objective?
So in 2020, as you said, first start of Excel plan, we took 25 commitments. And out of these 25 commitments, 90% after a year time were achieved positively. So here are some examples of tangible and encouraging results that we obtained. First, the division by 2 of the welding non-conformities on grand carénage. 4 times less lead time to take decision on non-conformity on HPC. 5 times less civil engineering rework on HPC. Up to 10 times less diversity of equipment in 8 new catalogs. So we can take, for example, the catalogs of valves and the catalog of pumps. But we can name some others that we just hear now. The speed of development on time delivery that you talked about, that is a nice contribution to it, as well as the happy to copy that you mentioned, Tariq, that is definitely a good way of working, or standardization that we talked about, and prefabrication, fabrication into a shop. So we've got the objective to at least double the prefabrication before going into the site. So that's all of them, good contributor for on-time delivery and on quality. So we're now entering in phase 3 of Excel plan, a phase of consolidation and deployment in a larger scale of the good practices developed in the previous phases. So it's also a phase where the supply chain companies are more mobilized and are taking new commitments. So now we've got 30 commitments, the 25 that I talked about earlier, and 5 more that were taken directly by the supply chain. And we target to reach all of them by mid of next year. So one of these principles or commitments that have been taken by the supply chain is to develop the lean principles that are adapted to our industry. So I have selected 4 of them that are key for our industry to step up and contribute to put the operator or the fitters at the center of our organization. These people are producing value, the value. So what can we do to help them improving their efficiency is definitely the aim of these lean principles. The first one is a structured 5S development. So this is definitely the foundation of all continuous improvement. It's easy to understand, one place for each thing, one thing for each place. So this is a very simple but also terribly efficient tool for shop floor efficiency. Second one is to focus our organizations to support the shop floor operation and efficiency. So we've got tools that have been developed in other industry, as you said, Tariq, more on the automotive industry. So the question will be how we adapt these tools to our industry. So we're talking about the on-done system, is a system where the people on the shop floor are asking for help. Second one is the development of management and support functions, Gemba Walks. Gemba Walk is to bring people, so support function or management, on the shop floor to identify problems or opportunities that were not identified by the people. And last one is the visual management and management through performances monitoring, like QRQC daily processes. Third principle is the root cause analysis to, I would say, get benefit from each problem. Each problem in an organization is a potential gift. So seeking for structural root causes and implementing selected actions is a very efficient way to improve our organizations and efficiency bit by bit. Last principle is the anticipation of risk and development of FMEA, which is failure mode effect analysis, very much deployed in different industry and starting in our industry. So we're a couple of companies that are thinking about how to adapt that tool and integrate in it the specificity of the nuclear development, like the AIP, activities important for protection. So I joined EDF the 1st of March. I was more in aeronautic industry since then. And I'm very delighted to discover our industry and to help improving the operational excellence of our industry. So I visited multiple companies so far and helped them to develop their own Excel plan. 44 companies have developed an approved Excel plan, from which we've got Westinghouse, we've got BOCCARD, and also a lot of, I would say, similar development in CA that you want to present.
Indeed so, thank you. Yes, so maybe two areas. First, what we already implemented on the GHR project. So it's not structured as the Excel plan, it's just common sense. But we work with our partners in a project office way. So it's rather a virtual project office, which is quite good when you have something like COVID crisis. So we also work together with our partner on the digital mock-up, so that we can everyone can see the implementation of the design. Another thing is very simple, is just avoiding design modification. It's very something awful when there are too much modification, and really we had too much modification. So we try to stop that. Of course, there are some that are necessary because there are some interfaces between the different fields, but maybe we talk about that later. Another thing is to reducing risk during the mounting phase by completing the detailed design before launching the intensive mounting phase. And finally, for GHR, it's also very simple. It's just to implement kind of swift problem-solving methods, such as A3 methods or something like that. They all have very cozy names. But it's just common sense, but it works. And the idea is to be fast when there is a problem, to solve the problem as fast as possible. And so that we can go further. And if we don't have an appropriate Excel plan, we work on something like that to have a performance for the project plan, to first to improve ourselves in our own methods, and by taking also example on what we already did on the GHR project.
No, that's, thank you very much for that. I was just thinking, obviously, from the owners and the operators, you know, from a major EPC player. Tarek, do you want to add anything to those points?
Yeah, I think our customers here covered all the points, but what's important for us as a provider and also with our partners, it's important to focus on what's important and also what's missing today. So we are in exciting times. We see how many people are present here at WNE. We hear the positive outcome of COP26. People talk about nuclear more and more as one of the main solutions for carbon-free energy production. And yet, when we look at what is our situation today? We had trouble. Many companies had trouble building new reactors. We have trouble operating the plants efficiently. So we need to pinpoint what are those areas where we need to improve, and EDF has led the way with the Excel plan, and we looked at it also. We look at, for example, we're helping the Flamanville 3 project on the repair of the main steam line welds, and we're proud of doing that. But the important thing is, so what's next? How do we make that a sustainable solution that you can provide to EDF and to the European market? So those are really important things for us, and behind this is really resources and competencies. So it's important also to be able to attract engineers and train them and have an attractive industry. Stefan comes from the aeronautic industry. Unfortunately, that industry got really hit by COVID. And our industry, we were proved to the world that we are resilient. We produce something that is essential for society. We were proud to produce electricity, but also not as usual, but also to the hospitals, to the homes, people working from home, and that's good. But now it's, okay, how do we make that more efficient and be able to attract people, because what we're doing has a higher purpose than just us, than producing electricity.
Excellent, thanks very much. And you said something quite relevant there. Obviously, you made the reference to COP26. Obviously, I think with every panel discussion and topic that we've been involved with over the last few days and what we've seen at the WNE, it's absolutely key. So what I was going to do was move the discussion on and ask, from COP26, what were the key points that we wanted to make to the supply chain to assist everyone with a focus on this challenge. And I was going to direct that question to Stuart Crooks. So if we could play the next video, please, and hear the response.
Of course, COP26 can be seen as a success in many people's eyes. It's worth remembering we recently did a study which demonstrates that nuclear produces only 5.6 grams of CO2 for every kilowatt hour generated. It's 5.6 grams per kilowatt hour. Compare that to offshore wind that's at 12 grams and 48 grams for solar. Coal, respectively, is at 820 and gas at 490. So you can see that nuclear over life cycle has such a small impact of grams of CO2 during lifetime compared to its nearest competitor of wind, which is about half of wind, and it's a fraction, sort of a tenth of solar. When you start comparing that to coal and gas, nuclear is by way the most effective way of generating low carbon energy, and that's something that we need to keep focused on. So I think COP26 did a great job in highlighting the positive role that nuclear can play in the future. But of course, it can only play a role with social acceptability. Social acceptability for me comes in two areas. One, safety. Safety is always our number one priority, and it's uncompromising. The second area is cost to the consumer. And we must demonstrate that we can drive the cost of nuclear down over life cycle to a level that's acceptable to the public. So safety, non-compromising, always our first priority. Cost to the consumer is equally important to ensure a widespread social acceptance that nuclear has a role to play in a much more balanced portfolio of energy going forward. It's our duty. We have a fantastic opportunity, a fantastic platform at the moment to make sure that happens, and we must not miss this opportunity.
Okay, so the next question is to all my dear guests. So do you have do you have a positive digitalization experience or examples from your projects that you would like to share with us today? Anyone?
Yes. On the JHR project, we used to apply the HoloLens device, as we use the CATIA 3D model, which is a very complicated software to communicate with other items, but we managed to make some communication with the device of HoloLens, and we use that to first help us to make the best conception as possible, to take into account all the specification and constraints on site, because this reactor is very dense of equipment, and the room left is near to zero. So there is a lot of interfaces, and we use this device to manage that. And also during the construction, and this is a way to optimize the time of acceptance by the client and the other contractors, is to use the virtual reality when we have construct the equipment on site, installation, and compare what we've done with what we should be done. So very satisfying when the superposition is very good, and you can show that, we can show that on our stand. And the second use of this device is to help us and help the other contractors and the customer to coordinate the erection phases, just to align the model that is charged is loaded in the HoloLens device with the schedule at one time. At one time, somebody must be at a kind of progress and allow the other to start the work. So.
Thank you, Philippe. Thank you, Philippe. Is anyone would like to have an intervention?
Yeah, I can share
Yeah,
quickly. Staying on the Flamanville 3 weld repair project, that's obviously a critical path, very important for EDF and Framatome, and we offered the solution to weld with robots, which was not something that was used before. So we had to get it qualified by ASN before we do this. And we have that capability in the US, so we have experts, equipment, etc. But before we transfer that to France, we wanted to make sure that ASN would accept this approach. And ASN, well, it was in the middle of COVID, they could not travel, etc. And they accepted to do it remotely, which is for a safety authority really was a huge leap. And in fact, we made sure that we had really high definition video and stuff, and we had lots of cameras showing from different angles, and the people that were working had cameras on their hard hat, so that we were able to. So the ASN inspectors staying here in France, I think were able to see this, inspect this better than if they were there in person, because they had all the different angles. So it was really a very good success, and that's why we were able to continue and then bring the equipment here in France and finish the wells. By the way, we finished the 8 wells, and which is a great success for EDF. And
thank you, Tarek. Thank you.
Yep.
Just to add something, so we've seen two good examples that are more, I would say, technical, but there's also multiple experiences developed, and you can see plenty of them today, on digitalization, report building, rapport de fin d'intervention, rapport de fin de fabrication, which are all digitalized. And we know that the documentation in nuclear industry is thick, and so digitalizing that is a good opportunity also to develop Pokayoki, so to reduce the number of mistakes in our documentation, and so to speed up the end of the manufacturing process.
Great. Thank you, Stéphane. Anyone else? It's okay. We go through the next question in that case.
Okay, so the next question I was going to throw over to everybody was, you know, whilst COVID, I was going to say it's COVID, we've moved on from it, but it's still with us, you know. You know, what is the biggest learning point within your own organizations that you've learned with the adaptation that we've had to put in place in order to, maintain the production levels within our industry?
Well, I think we all experienced remote working, and so we had to adapt to that, and so that's just, I think, the common experience. But maybe a lesson learned would be the balance between face-to-face meeting and digital meeting. And I think that we as I guess you all, we have much more digital meetings. And so it's always the same idea, to go faster and to solve problems as quick as possible.
Yes, I may add with that, Sylvestre. It's true, digitization, we always speak about technical stuff, investment, etc. But our first investment, and I think we are all in this point of view, are in people, and we take care of them. I think it's important to mention that, because all the creativity, all the optimization we have to make, the first execution, the good one, etc., are based on the people. And today, with the global warming and the pandemic, we must have a social commit to the society beyond profit and loss figures. It's important. The immediate challenges we faced in achieving a net zero carbon emission target have to be the priority in all that we have to do. And
well, thanks very much,
yeah.
Philippe. Now, I'm conscious of time, but what I wanted to do was to make sure that the last question we allowed all our panel members to respond to. People are the future in securing the delivery of this in this industrial sector and meeting the global challenges. Are we doing enough today to attract the excellence into the industry? And what, in addition, do we need to do in order to maintain and grow this? And I'm going to go from one end of the room to the other. So, Tariq, could you?
Yeah, I'll be quick in the interest of time. I think we demonstrated the perseverance, the resilience of the industry. We should be more attractive to a young generation. But we know what the environment they live in. It's all digital, etc. And I think we're not doing enough in that area. So we need to really think about that. How do we attract the best talents? Is to be more modern than what we are.
Yep, completely concur with that. Philippe from BOCCARD. Okay, we'll move on.
So for me, so we do plenty of things to attract talent. And one of them that could be a breakthrough is simplification. How can we be more efficient and more productive while maintaining safety as the first priority, but being simpler? That's, to me, a good point to attract talent.
Well, for us, as a public body and an R&D organization, we have, let's say, two different areas. When we talk about scientists, researcher, I think we still have quite a good attractiveness at CEA. When we talk about project management, it's a little bit more difficult. So we really have to do something about that. And the simplification, digitalization is also, I think, a part of the solution, but only a part of it.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for that. I was just going to say, rounding off from a BOCCARD perspective, again, the last 2 years with COVID, the digitalization techniques that we have in the business today, and the adaptability and how we can change as an organization to meet the needs of the new generation of engineers and project managers, and to show and demonstrate how much we're investing, in the forward challenge and the goal towards, the low carbon net zero future. So, With that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to draw this panel discussion to a conclusion. I'd like you to join with me in thanking our panel guests this afternoon for what's been really quite an enlightening discussion. There's been things said today here that I've certainly learned. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.